Right. So with us, gentlemen, there is yet another very interesting matter that we'll be handling tonight on the program with my panel. Well, a bill for an act to amend the Nigerian constitution to extend immunity to cover presiding officers of legislative institutions has passed the second reading in the House of Representatives. The bill, which was sponsored by Representative Odebumi Olusegun, was supported by a majority of the lawmakers who said it is important to safeguard the sanctity of the National Assembly. Some of the lawmakers who oppose the bill argue that it is coming at a time when there are calls for the withdrawal of immunity from the governors. In a moment, when we go on break, you'll be hearing the argument from the lawmakers. One of those who supported and moved the motion is here with us on the program, Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, Honorable Doguwa, in our Abuja studio. Honorable Doguwa, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Why do you think it is necessary that immunity should cover presiding officers, the Senate President, the Deputy Senate President, the Speaker, and the the Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps? Isn't this too much?
Thank you, Sheun, and I'm glad I'm on this platform, Politics Today. Let me also set for the records. The fact that I'm the majority leader of the House of Representatives is one thing, and the fact that this matter brought before the House of Representatives by an honorable member for a bill for an act to alter some relevant parts of the Constitution to extend immunity to presiding officers of a legislative institution is on one hand, and the fact that my comments, I want to say for the records clear that my comments are personal, they are my personal thought, because this act is now subject to legislative considerations. I want to say without any fear of contradiction that audience and yourself should not mistake my thought as if they were the position of the House of Representatives. And with this laid down background, I will want to say clearly, it is my view, and I feel it is in order, and it has got nothing to do with any parochial interest. And it is also not for any pecuniary reason that I feel, for whatever reason the drafters of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria thought it was necessary to provide this kind of protection, a kind of constitutional shield for the chief executives at the state level, and also for the chief executive at the center, the president and the vice president, as the case may be. I only feel it is also reasonable when we provide this kind of bulletproof, legislative bulletproof for chief presiding officers of the National Assembly, and by extension of all the state houses of assembly. That is one
Honorable
thing I think our audience
Honorable Doguwa, apologies to Button. Apologies to Button. You will explain to Nigerians and millions of our viewers tonight what it means. Then I will also show our viewers what the Constitution says about the immunity clause and what you are asking that these people should enjoy. But that's going to be in a moment when we go on break and we'll come back. Stay with us, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome back to the program. Already, there is being a lot of conversation online about these, and because we put out a poll out there on Twitter, and look at what a poll looks like. You need to go to Twitter, at Channels TV, on our Twitter handle, and participate in this poll. The question we are asking you is, should presiding officers in the National Assembly, like the Senate President and Speaker, enjoy immunity just like the President, the Vice President, governors, and their deputies in the state? Some of the options available there is it is needed, it is unnecessary, I don't care, I'm indifferent. Let us know your view, participate in the poll, and let's get talking. And let me reintroduce my panel tonight on the program. The Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, Honorable Doguwa, in our Abuja studio. Also, Professor Joash Amupitan is a professor of law, and we also have Mr. Yemi Candide Johnson. Is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming in. If you look at it, the portion of the Constitution, Section 308, that talks about the immunity on some of the people who enjoy it, that I've mentioned earlier, the president and all of that, if they are there for our viewers to see. Why do you think it is necessary? Because this is talking about legal issues, trial, prosecution, and all of that. Why do you think this is necessary? Is there a practical experience that you can draw as an inference on this, or is it practiced anywhere in other federal states that you know?
Yes, like you rightly said, let me also put it clear, like I've always said, This attempt to alter this relevant part of the Constitution, Sheun, and my great dear Nigerians, should know it's not about exclusively to do with the leadership or presiding officers of the National Assembly. The law seeks to alter the Constitution in that respect, which is Section 308, to cut across in presiding officers at the state houses of assembly. It's not about the National Assembly alone. Speakers at various state houses of assembly should enjoy this immunity. And our simple logic is this: as long as the drafters of the Constitution had some logic and they had some wisdom why they felt the executive, chief executive should have that shield, then we also feel it is also equally important that you provide same kind of shield for the head of presiding officers of legislative houses. We may not have a practical instance where a presiding officer in a state or in the National Assembly had any challenge or issue to discharge his responsibilities. But I can give you a very good example. In some of the developing nations and even some of the developed democracies, outrightly there are nations that extend this kind of immunity to head of legislative institutions like our own National Assembly.
But I mean, because
you may recall, at any time you would like to give, you would like to come up with a development like this, you are bound to have some issues or challenges. Remember when the houses of assembly in the National Assembly wanted to have financial independence. All this uproar was there. We wanted to have financial independence in order to entrench independence of the legislature, which is critical and paramount in every democracy. Nigerians in some quarters did not want that. But in the end, when we secure this protection, when we secure this financial independence, it gave the National Assembly and indeed the legislature and its institution what you call a very critical and effective power to deliver on their responsibilities as an arm of government.
Okay, because the question is that some of the people are asking, is this the important thing for as a representative of the people that we need to be focusing on at this time in our, because some of your colleagues are saying security is paramount. Why are you focusing on this kind of thing at this time?
Yes, it is important. It is important. It's not only important, Sheun, I repeat, it is very, very important. Security, of course, is paramount, but in the discharge of our responsibilities as a legislative institution, we also need to be secured. We need to have this legislative protection where our presiding officers can now act irrespective of whose ox is God, to operate what is operationable, to deal with the legislations before us without any fear of the unknown. And you must also believe in the fact that sometimes we come to legislate on our legal frameworks. Sometimes some of our members, we are not saying members should enjoy immunity, but you have a situation whereby our presiding officers may become jittery, may be nervous, will be afraid to even step on the toes of some forces in the country, democratic forces.
Honorable, just a moment.
We have this fear. The fear is there.
Yeah.
And we must also have this security. We have to have this.
All right, just a moment. Let me ask Mr. Yemi Candide Johnson about this. What do you make of this as a lawyer? As a senior lawyer in the land, what do you make of extending immunity to lawmakers, to presiding officers?
Well, this move is cynical and self-serving, and I'm not surprised that the honorable member who is on your panel, in spite of the number of words he has deployed, is unable to make a clear exposition of the foundation for this idea. That in a system of government where there is rule of law, for anybody to be immune from civil or legal or criminal process is an aberration. The history of immunity of chief executives is in the royal prerogative of kings. It was assumed that because kings had divine rights and because those who exercise the powers of state may need to exercise prerogative powers, which may not be so easy to account for in the public space, but may be necessary for the defense of the state, that it was an exception that should be created. And even that exception is subject to attack in several different places. But that the state, the House of Parliament right now, considers that this is their priority, that their priority rather than, as you mentioned, security, economic transformation, education, health, the safety and security of the constituent parts of the country, constitutional reform and restructure, that this is less important than a self-serving attempt to defend themselves from scrutiny for acts that they may commit, suggests to me that they have not got the right priority, that they're not exercising their power with the appropriate sense of responsibility, and I would consider it to be shameful. Actually, the Speaker of the House of Representatives is a personal friend. I consider him to be a very serious and thoughtful and intellectual man, and I suspect he must have been squirming on his seat hearing these pitiful arguments.
Let me hear from Professor Amupitan. Professor Amupitan, what is your own take on this?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, the concept of immunity arose as a result of tradition from England, where it is assumed that the queen can do no wrong. And the tradition was built over the years that the queen can be entrusted with anything, and then you can go to sleep. In Nigeria, the problem we have with immunity, even starting from the executive, is that the immunity leads to impunity. And you see that tradition, which Britain or United States, they have built around that type of tradition. We're yet to have it in Nigeria. In Nigeria, we play politics of power and not the politics of the people.
Apologies to Botin.
So
Apologies,
remember,
Professor. There's some story coming in right now that we would like to bring to you. Is about Mr. Buba Galadima, one of the spokespersons of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization. We understand that the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, has taken over his residence and company in Abuja. The story just coming in that there is an asset recovery on Mr. Buba Galadima by the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. Channel Television will bring you details of that. We get a final word in 20 seconds. Honorable Doguwa, your final word and response to this, just in 20 seconds.
Yes. My final words about these discussions, Sheun, is the fact that I still remain on my words. I keep to my position. And my apologies, of course, to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who right from the onset wanted to even step down in the discussions of that nature because, like he said, he could not be a judge in his own case. And trying to even draw the attention of the mover of the bill that whatever is going to come up subsequently, it must have to imply that the law, even being considered, will not have immediate effect with this present set of presiding officers. But I still want to put it straight, my great people in the country, that we need to protect our presiding officers so that they could now deliver in their own expected responsibilities as protected presiding officers.
And we need to leave it at that. Honorable Doguwa, Majority Leader and the House of Representatives. And Professor Amupitan, thank you so much. And Mr. Yemi Candide Johnson, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you so much for talking to us tonight. But that's our show for tonight. We'll bring you some of the stories just coming in at the top of the hour right here on Channel Television. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.